Welcome to this explainer. I am absolutely pumped to dig into today's topic. So, if you've been jumping into player versus player combat recently, specifically trying to play a support or shielder role, you might be pulling your hair out wondering why your defenses feel like they're made of wet paper. Well, today we are putting a laser focus on PvP damage shields. We're digging directly into the latest patch notes, class reworks, and some top-tier theory crafting to debunk some massive survivability myths. Trust me, we are going to completely change the way you look at your stat sheet. Right off the bat, you've probably experienced this. Have you ever jumped into a chaotic battle, seen a massive spike of incoming damage, confidently cast your damage shield, and then you just instantly die anyway? It is incredibly frustrating, right? You're staring at your death recap just thinking, why did my shield completely vanish? Listen, you're definitely not alone. It's a huge pain point for so many new support players who think they're doing everything right, but they're fundamentally missing the underlying mechanics of how survivability actually functions under pressure. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for fixing your shielding problems today. 1. The PvP shielding trap. 2. How shields actually scale. 3. The health cap problem. 4. Avoiding the glass cannon. And 5. Optimized shield strategies. Starting with Section 1, the PvP shielding trap and some common beginner mistakes. The big issue here is that so many new support players enter the PvP arena with a PvE mindset, and they fall right into this trap. Let's look at these mistakes. Number 1 is over-investing in max magicka. People see that their magic abilities cost magicka, right? So they just dump every single stat point into it. And because of this, they commit mistake number 2, completely ignoring their max health. Third, they neglect their physical and spell resistances, basically assuming their shields are just gonna absorb everything. And finally, and honestly, I love this one because it's a very real piece of advice from top theory crafters like Icy Fire Gaming, slouching in your chair during intense combat. Seriously, PvP requires insane situational awareness. If you aren't sitting upright, head on a swivel, broadcasting your heals and shields with perfect timing, you are absolutely going to get run over. Moving on to Section 2. How shields actually scale. Let's break down the math. Now, what's really interesting about this is how recent updates have completely changed the mathematical foundation of shield scaling. Just notice how entirely different stats drive different skills now during these massive class reworks. Take Magma Shell, for instance. It had its shield size bumped up to a massive 133% of the target's max health. That means this specific shield is purely dictated by how much health the person receiving it actually has. But then look at the new Superheated Ward, which used to be Stonefist. That grants a sizable damage shield that scales off your max magicka or stamina instead. And then you have Volcanic Ward, which tacks on a healing effect the second the shield ends or breaks, plus a 10% damage reduction for the next attack. The developers are clearly separating these abilities to scale off distinct stats. It forces you to make incredibly deliberate choices about how you build your character. And this brilliantly illustrates why mechanics like smart targeting are so absolutely vital. Smart targeting is a mechanic you'll find on skills like Healing Ward. When you cast it into a group of 4 players, it doesn't just apply at random. It automatically bypasses your full health allies and applies the shield directly to the ally with the lowest health. So when you understand the scaling we just talked about and combine it with mechanics like smart targeting, it proves that picking the correct skill for the exact right moment is every bit as important as the stat numbers on your character sheet. Which brings us to Section 3, the health cap problem, the hidden mathematical wall. Okay, pay attention because this is the secret mathematical wall that gets high magical players killed over and over again. Let's contrast these two conflicting rules, using the Dragon Knight's fragmented shield as a perfect example. Rule 1. The shield's base strength scales upward based on your highest offensive stat, so your max magicka or stamina. Sounds awesome, right? Just pump up your magicka to get a bigger shield. But wait, here is Rule 2. The shield is strictly hard-capped at 31% of the recipient's max health. Do you see the trap here? You could have this astronomical magicka pool capable of generating a 20,000-point shield on paper, but if your target, or if you yourself, only has 20,000 base health, the shield will strictly cap at just over 6,000 points. That massive magicka pool becomes utterly useless if the recipient doesn't have the base health to support that cap. Let's hit Section 4, avoiding the glass cannon and the very real danger of high magicka. Falling into that shielding trap we just talked about means you end up building a character that looks incredibly powerful on paper, but just shatters in actual gameplay. Stacking max magicka without investing in your base HP or your armor leaves you entirely exposed to burst damage the very millisecond your shield drops. In PvP, you have to remember, you aren't fighting predictable monsters, you are fighting actual players who know exactly how to time their attacks. If an assassin class like a Nightblade breaks your flimsy, health-capped shield with a heavy attack, and you only have 18,000 actual health behind it, you are instantly deleted. You simply don't have the raw physical stats to survive the follow-up burst. The sources make this incredibly clear. I want to read this quote directly from Icy Fire Gaming when discussing pure shielding builds that sacrifice defenses. This build is not for the faint of heart. You are running very low actual HP, so you will be targeted. Watch your surroundings, keep your head on a swivel, make sure you're sitting upright and not slouching in your chair. It is a high-stakes, maximum stress way to play. If you lag for even a half second, you're literally looking at a respawn screen. So, what's the takeaway? The crucial point is 30,000. According to the top theory crafters analyzed in our sources, 30,000 is the absolute maximum magicka you should ever invest in as a PvP support player. Going beyond 30k yields terrible diminishing returns for your overall survival. Once you hit this 30,000 magicka sweet spot, you have enough resources to cast your spells effectively. Every single stat point after that needs to be aggressively shifted away from magicka and poured directly into survivability. And that brings us to Section 5, Optimized Shield Strategies, Building a True Survivor. So now that we know what not to do, let's look at how the veterans actually build an unkillable support player. Here are the 3 definitive steps to rebalancing your stats the right way. Step 1. As we just covered, cap your magicka at 30k and pour all the rest into your base health. This ensures your shields don't hit that artificially low health cap. Step 2. Equip heavy armor. We are moving entirely away from light armor here and prioritizing raw resistances. Step 3. Keep Essence of Health, also known as Tri-Stat Potions, active at all times. You really never want to drop below 50% of any resource, and these potions give you continuous recovery for health, magicka, and stamina simultaneously. Let's focus on that heavy armor point for a second because it's massive. Physical and spell resistances offer pure mitigation value with virtually zero diminishing returns in a PvP environment. Because the PvP landscape is absolutely flooded with debuffs like Major Breach that just strip away your armor, you can basically never have too much resistance. Armor is your reliable safety net when, and I emphasize, not if, but when your shields inevitably break under heavy fire, your physical and spell resistances are the absolute only thing stopping that incoming damage from chunking your health bar down to 0. Honestly, never cheap out on your armor stats. For remember, all the perfect stats in the world won't save bad gameplay. Survival definitely goes beyond the numbers. You have to maintain proper positioning at all times. You've got to use line of sight, kiting around structures, running up and down tower stairs to avoid taking damage in the first place. Make sure you don't stack too closely to your teammates, or you're all going to get pulled into a devastating enemy ultimate dump, like a massive negate zone or a Colossus smash. And finally, always block when you are casting defensive ultimates or abilities with a cast time. If you're channeling a skill and not blocking, you're just a sitting duck. So after seeing the math behind the health cap, the absolute danger of overstacking magicka, and the pure mitigation power of heavy armor, I have to ask, how will you rebalance your stats to survive your next PvP encounter? It's time to hit the armory, tweak those numbers, and stop those shields from vanishing into thin air. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope this helps you become the unkillable support player your team desperately needs. Stay focused, stay upright in your chair, and I'll catch you on the next one.